Welcome to a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Run, 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 little minions. Run from that train before it gets suplexed. Welcome to the 49th edition of Legacy News. 49. Almost to 50. And we got another great one for you to start your week. What happened to the honeybees, man? What the hell happened to the honeybees? What is happening in this world? That's the question I ask you. Because if the honeybees go away, then so does your food. Let's talk about that.
Run, run,
Welcome
run
in,
as
Andrew
fast as you
Joseph.
can. You can't catch me, but Interceptor can.
That's Andrew Joseph. I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. I'm Zach Kaiser, and yeah, that's basically that's the topic of today. Run, run, run as
Yeah.
fast as you can. What is your take on the honeybee scenario before we get into our video today? which
I've heard
everybody
about
should
this
love?
in I guess called alternative media before it was alternative media. They're talking about like Coast to Coast back in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, I think it's very important. Well, I wasn't listening back then, so I couldn't give you an honest. But I'm just saying, I've heard about these stories, right? And it is definitely a valid concern, but I don't know the specifics, so I can't give you an objective, honest answer.
See, unlike me, an anarchist, and Andrew, a libertarian, me and Andrew are unlike any one of you so-called conspiracy theorists. We've been listening to Art Bell forever. We started becoming a conspiracy theorists the first time I listened to Art Bell. I'm like, this guy's not off his rockers. He has some points. And he does. He's talked about a whole slew of things in culture, society, from the aliens to the covert operations of government secrecy to what we're about to jump into.
Yeah.
The bees.
Killer bees, Laszlo. It's in the chat.
Laszlo, on the other hand, well, I mean, Laszlo would probably do some other things to the bees, but that's beyond the point.
You know, he'd use them as a promo for COVID.
He probably would. He probably would. So speaking of, I mean, speaking of COVID, can we say that now on YouTube?
I think we can. Oh well, we're
I think
not.
we can.
I think we
not big
fly under
enough.
the radio enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got 20
but-
subscribers. No, I'm just kidding. It's 109.
Yeah.
I checked this morning.
Speaking, pick that up, everybody. Yeah, scale that up. Share this with your friends and your family. I want to know your perspective. So I want y'all to jump into the conversation, and drop a comment. Drop a like too, because it helps the algorithm. But drop a comment. Let's join the conversation, and let's have a real public discourse down in the comments. So share this, get people involved, and let's talk about it, because this needs to be talked about. If we don't, if the only way that we can fix the issues of the day is if we just start talking about it, and in some cases, like racism, not talk about it. You want to end racism, just stop talking about racism. Start treating people like they should be treated. If you're a retard, then you will be treated like a retard. If you are a smart human being with his head on his shoulders, and I don't mean retard as in somebody that's mentally incapacitated. I get that.
You're talking about Nancy
I'm not going to
Pelosi, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Nancy Pelosi. She's a retard. But we need to talk about all this. So we are going to jump into a video. This is Doug again. Absolutely love this dude. This dude is fucking brilliant.
He is definitely a fan.
He's definitely a fan. What, Doug is a fan of us?
No, you're a mark for
No,
Doug.
just-
I think he likes
well-
older bearded men.
It's because I don't have it's because I can only get a little bit of facial hair.
Yeah, I can
Ironically,
understand that.
Ironically enough, I shaved, so that's
Mhm.
partially why it looks like I don't have a beard. But anyways, let's jump into it. Let's dive into it. Let's go deep down the rabbit hole. And while we're at it, if you're listening and don't want to watch and need to use the toilet, bypass the toilet. Stop using indoor plumbing, dude. That's the system. Stop using the system. Go grab a bucket. Let's poop in buckets. Let's divorce.
Or you can
from
be like they
society.
did in Knoxville. The homeless can go up to the old courthouse, and that was converted into a private college. And go right there on the
Good-
porch.
Good
That
for
happened.
the-
I was
good
a
for the
security guard
homeless
there.
people.
I didn't see it. We were just supposed to report it.
Good for the homeless people. Good for the homeless. They need a place to poop too.
See,
Poop in peace.
even trends like that leave San Francisco and California.
Yeah, but I mean, Tennessee wants to be just like California, so all the Californians coming.
California Uber Alice, baby. I just got us canceled. Copyright.
We're already canceled. We're not canceled. We're just so far down the algorithm rabbit hole that nobody cares. So say what you want, Andrew. Say what you want. Say what you mean. And let's dive into this video. But hold your thought, though. Because it's time to go in the CBS Weekend News.
Tonight, the beekeeping industry is in crisis over the shocking and unexplained deaths of hundreds of millions of bees over the last 8 months.
All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. If you're new around here, my wife and I, we live on 11 acres. Out here, we grow 90% of our own food. We even raise bees, which this story is all about, so don't go anywhere because this is going to be a heartbreaker. Okay, we are getting to the point of no return, all right? We poop in buckets and we teach people how to live a sustainable life off the matrix, away from the grid. Okay, you only participate when you want to. right? Where many people are participating 100%. And so that's what we do here on YouTube and social media and at our university.offgridwithdougandstacy.com. But today's story is super duper alarming, y'all, and I hope you're paying attention to this. I'm going to keep putting it in front of your face while the political theater's going on and while we're ramping up for World War III. U.S. News just dropped a report right here. Honeybee deaths hit a record high as scientists scramble to find the main cause. And I'm going to show you the main cause before this video is over, the main cause that everyone is ignoring on purpose. Honeybee deaths have hit a record high in the U.S. with unprecedented loss of colonies pushing many beekeepers close to ruin as scientists scramble to identify the main cause of the huge declines. Commercial beekeepers have reported losing more than 60% of their colonies on average over the winter, according to the ongoing Project APS-M survey that covers more than 2/3 of America's managed bees. And just for the record, I am not a proponent of managing bees the way America does. This enormous rate of decline is higher than record reductions seen last year. And it's on track to be the biggest loss of honeybee colonies in U.S. history, according to Scott McArt, the associated professor at etymology at Cornell University. And now you know this is becoming a problem because they're going to slip this into the mainstream media as well, so they could get the word out to everybody. So when your food production is really bad, they're going to circle back to this and blame it on the bees and this mysterious thing going on. Here it is.
Tonight, the beekeeping industry is in crisis over the shocking and unexplained deaths of hundreds of millions of bees over the last 8 months. Now, this could impact all of the U.S. as bees, called the backbone of agriculture, are responsible for pollinating, get this, more than 1/3 of the nation's crops. CBS's Janet Shamlian in Savoy, Texas, has the story.
This is what an unfolding disaster looks like in the U.S. beekeeping industry. Each of these hives can hold as many as 80,000 bees, but for reasons no one can pinpoint, the bees in all these hives and tens of thousands more have turned up dead.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
Never, not even close. The data is showing us that this is the worst bee loss in recorded history.
Blake Shook is one of the nation's top beekeepers. He owns Desert Creek Honey and several other beekeeping businesses.
If this is a multi-year thing, it'll change the way we consume food in the United States.
That's a pretty significant statement.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, if we lose 80% of our bees every year, the industry cannot survive, which means we cannot pollinate at the scale that we need to produce food in the United States.
Bees play a critical role in U.S. food production. In addition to making honey, they pollinate 75% of the fruits, nuts, and vegetables grown in the U.S. That's $15 billion worth of crops. So what's causing the deaths, and why now?
So these are dead bees in there, and they have always an identifier for a project.
Juliana Rangel studies them at Texas A&M University.
One potential explanation is that over the last few years, we've seen some locations across the U.S. that have had lower forage available for bees. So when they're supposed to be blooming, let's say in April, they're blooming either earlier in the year or later in the year. And so we have these food deserts basically in the summer and fall that the bees sometimes cannot withstand.
Back at Shook's Bee Farm,
Here we go with the hood.
we suited up for a look at his commercial operation.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right, the first thing we do is smoke the entrance, and that calms the bees down.
This is what a healthy hive looks like.
And then in the center here, this is where the baby bees are raised.
These just returned from California, where the bees were used to pollinate almonds. Beekeeping groups say the losses may put as many as 25% of commercial operations out of business by year's end, with wide-reaching impact.
I got a call from a friend who has 20,000 beehives at the start of winter, and he's at less than 1,000. And he said, this is it, I'm done. And I've had far too many of those calls in the past weeks. It's not just a beekeeper issue, this is a national food security issue.
An industry reeling amid a troubling trend. Janet Shamlian, CBS News, Savoy, Texas.
Here's another story from Fox 8 out of Oregon. Portland, Oregon losses of commercial honeybee colonies are projected to be the highest on record in the last decade, according to Washington State University scientists. In a press release, university scientists said the colonies could decline by up to 70% this year while average losses have typically been around 50% annual, as well as all the varroa treatment and everything else that they put on bees, all these pharma chemicals that they're putting on the bees. But the biggest problem is going to be talked about here in just a second. Explained in an earlier video about all the spraying that's going on in our skies. Don't look up, right? Because they don't want you to pay attention to these things. They want to keep you focused on your TV, on your political theater, on Donald J. Trump, on Elon Musk, and, you know, all the damage being done to Tesla dealers. Everything is about nothing. Right? That's just like school. They teach you everything about nothing. All that stuff has absolutely nothing. And actually, did you guys even know that Congress just, convened, broke for a recess, for a break after doing no bills, after doing no votes, and after doing nothing. Okay, so all you guys are getting are these executive orders, which is low-hanging fruit, just to kind of keep you complacent while the plan marches on. So here's Doug Mastriano. He's actually a member of Congress putting up a tweet like this, talking about the chemtrails that they're spraying in the sky more and more and more every single day. We've been out here for 16 years. We keep our eyes on the skies. And ever since COVID, honestly, but the last several years, like 3-4 years, they have literally been bombarding us with this stuff. It's no secret that one of the things that they're spraying up there is aluminum. Please do your homework and look into how aluminum affects your brain, how aluminum affects everything. Here is an actual news article about aluminum toxicity in the soil. How did we get aluminum toxicity in the soil? There's another one. Aluminum concentrations exceed thresholds for aquatic health in Nova Scotian rivers, even during conditions of high dissolved organic carbon and low flow. So it's like, wow, where's all this stuff coming from? They're saying, right? It's totally abnormal. All right, so what I'm showing you guys right now is a letter from the American Bee Federation and Honeybee Health Coalition and that Project Apis M. Survey reveals over 1.1 million honeybee colonies lost, raising alarm for pollination and agriculture. Salt Lake City, Utah, February 20th, 2025, a nationwide survey of beekeepers has released a catastrophic honeybee colony losses across the United States, with commercial operations reporting an average loss of 62% between June 2024 and February 2025. These alarming losses, which surpass historical trends, could significantly impact U.S. agriculture, particularly crop pollination for almonds, fruits, vegetables, and other essential food sources. You guys have to be able to connect these dots. The only reason why they're ramping up the sprays in the skies is because they're after the food production. They're after the water. They want to pollute everything. So you have to go to man, that you cannot rely on the Most High's design anymore. That you have to go to man. You have to buy man's products. This has been the play ever since the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Go look it up. They took away the homeopathic medicines and introduced the pharmaceuticals with petroleum. And we've been sicker.
We're going to continue that, but he said something about the Rockefellers. There is a conspiracy theory, I guess you could call it, pertaining towards the Rockefellers and their large Standard Oil monopoly, broken apart into different divisions and brands. You okay there, Andrew?
You told me to hold my thought.
Oh, hold your thought.
Can I let it go now?
I'll hold my thought before I explain. Go ahead. I don't want you to hold your thought. I want you to speak your mind.
They don't want to put chemicals in the air to turn the freaking bees gay.
They are probably that might be the reason, honestly, because the bees are turning gay. But the thing about the Rockefellers is they, as their petroleum business was getting so large and huge, something happened politically about in the 1910s, 1920s that significantly exploded with petroleum-based pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And I mean that is the Rockefeller line right there. Effectively, they really do want you dead. They perceive that in order to control I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, everybody. Aluminum foil. Um, don't put the aluminum foil on your head. But they really do perceive, the powers that be, whoever they are, they do perceive that in order to gain access to a human structure of complete control and subservient to a whole elite, basically bring back feudalism, we have to control populations to a standard that can't be that effectively can be held together. Exactly. Yeah. Does that make any
Contrived
sense?
and regulated. A well-regulated society, huh?
A
Well, let
well-regulated
me.
society.
I've heard this not what you're saying, but I'm saying in the context of what businesses do is that they think out in 10, 20, 30, 50, 100-year arches, right? They're planning
hmm
well in advance. So I could see how that might have some legitimacy if it's, they're not going to be transparent if that's really what's happening. But I'm just
Mm.
giving some foundation there, some framework about how it
Well,
could be accurate.
well, to go off of your thought right there, and to take the tinfoil hat off and not think like a conspiracy theorist, on a business perspective, you are exactly correct. Businesses are always, in order to innovate, in order to adapt, you have to look 20, 30 years in advance because you don't necessarily know the future. So you have to prepare yourself economically. So to a certain extent, if we want to throw away the tinfoil hat here, perhaps this is a natural phenomena, and businesses are trying to are well in advance utilizing what they know, utilizing the sciences that are backing studies so that they can adapt for a future to where we can uphold to a standard to save ourselves economically, innovate with technologies while nature is kind of breaking apart and eroding, or perhaps nature is just healing. And
Well,
we're
here, let me
and
ask
in
you.
30 years from now, everything will come full circle.
Let me pull
Perhaps.
up the gimmick here and ask the simple question everyone wants to know: is the gimmick true? Does Bitcoin fix this?
Does Bitcoin fix this? No. Bitcoin has been
Okay.
hijacked.
Well, like I said, it's a gimmick.
But
And
in order to divorce ourselves from one monopoly or one monetary supply, um, and give decision making back to people and how they adapt and compete and cooperate and corroborate, um, there needs to be a change in that financial essence of monetary systems that allow us to divorce from a monetary monopoly and
oh, hold
take our
on, we're not on Crypto Wednesday. That was just a gimmick.
yeah. Oh, I know, but but to coincide with that, um, it really does free human beings to divorce themselves from a monetary monopoly and allow the decision making of our own selves to do business elsewhere. Because as long as there's a monetary monopoly, you're going to have issues,
Yeah, it's
detrimental
always
issues.
monopolies always cause issues because they're
hmm
incestuous.
Yeah. Now let's get back into it.
Just real quick, this gentleman, I really do appreciate his beard. He's got a killer beard. It's like Spooner's beard.
He does have a killer beard. I mean, he even dresses like he's Amish too, but obviously he's not. I mean, they
He's
still
not.
use technology.
Yeah, well, obviously he's not prepared for the killer bees. So we'll get back to that.
I believe he raises his own bees for
The
this
killer
specific
bees?
purpose. Oh, the killer bees. No, maybe not. The killer bees. Nobody wants to be around killer bees. But what I like to say before we dive back into it is I really like the wood stove in the background. That's nice.
Yeah, it is very nice. Nice touch.
So let's get back into it.
And sicker and sicker. Rockefeller actually bought the American Cancer Institute. So all this time you guys are sending money to the American Cancer Institute, all you're doing is lining the elitist pockets, and they're never going to give you the cure. They're taking out the honeybees. They're taking out the pollinators. I was just watching some wasps. You know, watch the wasps. Okay, these are the canary in the coal mines. I was telling Stacy, and I was actually talking to some friends, and I was like, man, are you guys noticing these wasps? It's like 70 degrees outside. They're very lethargic. They're like falling and then falling straight down. They're flying very short distances. They're landing on the cars, the windows. They're very like slow, right? And I don't know if that's anything, if that's just, maybe it's just coming out of winter. I don't think so. I don't think so. Trees are dying from the top down. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. Okay, the weather changes. One day you're 70, the next day you're 30. One day you're 80, and the next day you have snow. That messes up the natural flow. That messes up the natural order. Okay, and it's going to cause problems with the buds of the plants that produce the food, because when they come out and they think it's springtime and it's warm enough, and then the weather changes just so dramatically, right? And we know why from spraying. There are actually patents that control the weather. We've talked about this on our channel. And then they freeze the buds that produce the fruit, and then you have lower fruit production. Here's a guy who's like a 4th generation orange citrus farmer in Florida, and he's losing his grove very fast.
My grandfather started in the 50s. My father and my uncles are still involved in it. Just in my time, we went from roughly 150 million boxes in the state of Florida to this year, we might be lucky to pick 10 million boxes. It seems like every new time I drive through, there's another grove that's been abandoned. So it's definitely something that has happened quick. Since 2017, we've had Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Ian, and Hurricane Milton come through the citrus belt. And then on top of that, we also had some freezes, first time that we've had in probably 10 plus years. The trees are already in a weakened state because of the greening.
I just want to keep this on your radar, okay? They're not telling you you're going to eat bugs and that food's going to be grown indoors and that, you know, all these, you know, different food items are coming your way, okay? Because they know, because it's their plan. I know this stuff sounds so outrageous, but the proof is in the pudding. And on the daily, we've been reporting this stuff for the last 2 years, okay? And what's going to happen now is we're just going to get to critical mass. We're going to get to the point where it's going to be too hard to dig out of that stuff, all right? I'm a firm believer that what they're spraying in the skies is going to mess up our whole thing down here. And that's the plan. Share this video with your friends so they can understand there is an attack going on the food system. They're not culling all those chickens for no reason. I showed you guys the replacement chickens coming in are getting the injections. Some of the hatcheries will not even be honest with you about the injections. So you're going to have to do your homework. This bee story is a huge thing that you should have on your radar. Millions and millions of hives have just vanished. And that is going to be a big problem. Okay. And that's why we put out some of the best beekeeping videos on YouTube. I have never treated my bees for varroa mites, and my bees do very well all the time. It's just this simple. If you treat bees and you're constantly injecting other outputs to try to manage them, okay, all you're doing is more harm. The bees are naturally able to take care of themselves, just like us. If something comes around that, you know, makes you sick or takes you out, right, then we develop natural immunities. That's the way our bodies are designed by the Most High. So if you're a Christian, I'm asking you to look deep inside. Look deep inside and ask yourself, why aren't you following the Most High? Why aren't you following his design? Why are you constantly turning to man? Why? Because I've been very baffled by that for sure ever since COVID. All right. But this right here, this bee story, this could be the end of us. You know what I mean? We get rid of these pollinators and we throw off the cycle of everything that grows because we're constantly messing with this weather stuff. Share this video with your friends, y'all. It's going to get spicy. I told you guys 2025, it's going to be lit. Okay. And we're, like I said, we're just into March. We got the whole year to go. All right. And remember, the most capable hand is at the end of your wrist. Stop co-opting out your life. Okay. Do the best you can to be more engaged with your food and your water and your shelter and what's going on. It's time for us to seriously wake up and start challenging all this stuff and stop passively, just sitting around waiting for somebody to lead us along. Right? It's up to us. We, the people, have the power. Oh, by the way, there's 30-something states now. Here's the clip. There's 30-something states now that have moved to ban the chemtrails. Okay? So it must not be just some made-up thing. All right. What they've had many, many people believing for years is that it's some made up thing and we're all just nuts. Cat's out of the bag. All right. And this is the biggest problem we have right now. Not sugar snap foods and snap programs, right? Not red dye 40, which was a total low hanging fruit garbage that they put on you so they could pacify you. None of that stuff matters if they keep spraying those skies. Period. Full stop.
Period.
See?
Full stop.
This is why I regularly consume trisodium phosphate, is because it blocks the chemicals in the air.
No, are you serious?
No.
So,
But trisodium phosphate is a chemical that they put in some of the cereal manufacturers' foods. It's a cleaning agent.
I know it's a cleaning agent. So basically, consume what they're putting in the skies, and it'll help you. You'll build an immunity.
Right. It's like the Princess Bride, right? Iodine powder or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, we discussed this on our latest episodes of the Legacy, right? And there's two things that come to mind, two terms that come to mind. And before I drop those two terms, the reason society has been numb, going on a Christian, he mentioned Christianity, the Most High. Human beings have become so accustomed as we've technologically advanced over the years that we're allowing man to become God and coordinate. And so that is one aspect of why the state has expanded its power and its scope of scale to power and authority. Is we're not giving ourselves to the Lord, and we're not living a more natural realm of life. And whenever man attempts to become like God, you are deceiving yourself. The two terms, deceit and fear. One side deceives while the other side fears. And what do those two lead to, Andrew?
A whole lot of trouble.
Hate, anger, apathy. You no longer care. And why should we care if we can just make what we need to be secure in our food supply in a underground bunker lab somewhere, growing it indoors, using GMOs, etc., using chemicals to produce chemically enhanced foods? Is that natural?
No.
It's not. You should take a hold of yourself. In order to beat them, it's hard to beat what they're doing in the skies. So just pay attention.
Yeah, be
But
careful at
you,
the grocery store too, because they're using genetic modification for food, like
well,
hamburger
that's what I
and
was.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'm just picking up on it. I'm sorry. It's like they're using what's it called? I can't remember what the name of the stem cells, and they're growing like beef out of stem cells, which is
yeah.
outrageously cool one way, but it's incredibly dangerous the other because you don't know what the consequences are, and you just pass it off like the same thing.
And that's why I'm a strong advocate for do your own research. Meet neighbors or new friends around the region. Um, Collaborate with farmers, small farmers, family farms. I mean, there's websites that you can go to look for your nearest family farm, um, and grow your own food as much as you can. You can't grow it all. You're gonna need help, but you need to take control of your own life and take control of your own food supply for you and your family sake. Because if you're dependent on the system's going to come crashing down. It's inevitable. Look at SNAP. Do you really want to be a welfarist? You want to be a slave, dependent on the state giving you all the handouts at the expense of others? What happens when everybody is a dependent? There's nobody to steal from at this point. Well, then that is when you get Mao. That is when you get Stalin's Holodomor, Hitler's Holocaust, Cambodia, Rwanda. Force the tribes to go at each other's throats to the point where you have 3 million dead. Excuse me, unalived, YouTube.
Uninstall.exe.
So be like John McAfee. Jump on that boat. Get your guns ready. And let's sail the open seas to freedom. Take control of your life. Responsibility is freedom, not dependency.
Here we go.
Anything more, Andrew?
Well, don't be stick in the mud. If you feel like where you're going or where you're at isn't going anywhere, you definitely need to move to greener pastures.
And with that, I just want to say one question. Since this is good versus evil, we are in a battle with Satan. Would you die just like the apostles? I'll tell you what, man. I think I'd be just like James. You can crucify me, and while I'm being crucified, I'll continue to preach to save the souls of mankind until my last dying breath. But I want to be crucified upside down like Peter because I don't belong. I don't deserve to be crucified like my Savior.
Absolutely.
So crucify me upside down, Romans. And while you're nailing me to that cross, I'm still going to preach responsibility and liberty. Take control of your life, everybody. And get your own bees.
That's right, Laszlo. It's definitely not a chatterbox.
Anyways, this has been another chapter of Legacy News. Join the conversation. Drop a comment. Drop a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this and go over there. They got like shit tons of subscribers. But you know what? If you haven't checked out Doug and Stacy, Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, you live under a rock, but go sub over there as well. Because I think this is going to be another Monday where it's just like, that's the news, man. Get it from Doug.
Tell them we sent them. Or we sent you.
And then they'll know who we are, and then we'll have them on. That'd be cool, actually.
You can do it. Just one comment, one chance. My time is now. They can't
One
see me. My
chance,
time is now.
one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. Arms weak, mom spaghetti. There's vomit on my sweater already. I think I reversed that. Arms weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on my sweater already. Mom spaghetti.
Because there's no honey to make the spaghetti, the pasta, the grain, the food.
One last question, Andrew. Should we do what the EU does and ban chemicals? Or do you think that's a little too much overreach by the state?
Well, I think that is definitely overreach. I think you have to have diversification. You can't just one size fits all anything. Decentralization.
Robert Kennedy is angry at you. We have to ban it all for my climate lockdowns.
Damn. I guess I'm out of here. I'm on the run now.
All right. Don't forget the exits in the corner. Peace out, everybody. Live long and prosper.
I'm going to have to leave now, but I was sure I came in by that door over there. Hey, man, where's the door to get out of here?
Oh, it's right over there, sir.
Right over where?
The exit sign? Exit sign? It's that door right there.
That red sign?
Yeah, just go right that way.
Okay.
I think it went down the wrong door.
Where am I? Hey, what the fuck's wrong with you? That's not the right door.
Sir, you're gonna want to go to the one with the exit. You went to the door to the side there.
I went to the right doors. And where you pointed me to, you fuck?
I pointed you to the exit.
Man, you're fucking with the wrong guy.
I'm sorry.
You see this bulge on my hip? You know what that is?
That's a gun.
That's a Glock. You're fucking with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Don't ever send me to the wrong door.